Hello and welcome. I am the Restless Kaiser.
And I'm Johnny B.
And I am Harry from Fog of War. But together we are Modelling for Advantage.
Oh, pinch Johnny B's line. Look at that. Are you seeing?
Hey, it's great to be back.
Hey.
Yay! It's
Just
Harry!
catch up with the early adopters, the early chatters. Axe and Axe has ever catched in the rerun.
Yep.
Rich John says hi. Kevin
Hello.
Lindsay in early for a good seat. Excellent choice, sir. Excellent choice. Nick from Team Clueless Games. Good evening, sir. Aled says, evening. Looking forward
Aled.
to pointers on what to buy from Mrs. K. As Soviets is my 2023 project for Flames of War and O Group. Enjoying my US and Germans. Fancy pitting a horde army. T-70s, mate. You won't be able to get enough of them. You won't fit them all on the table.
No, KV-8 flamethrowers. Scare the bollocks off of people.
Fantasy tanks. Fernando Tereniac says, greetings all. Lazy Pirate Painting is here. Tony Houghton, please can we borrow the gerbil to start the Earth's inner core spinning it? Sorry, I said before the show that I was just setting the gerbil on the wheel to get power up for the PC. Is where that joke's coming from. Saffron69 Gary is here. Subs, drink every time they say Berlin.
Berlin, there's a free one from me.
Yeah, you didn't go for Reichstag then. We can all say it differently then. Rosie Raccoon is here. Hello, Rosie. Good evening. And Alan says hi too. The head rat, hi, folks. Hoping you are well. Playing some Mansions of Madness tonight.
God, that sounds
is
like
that
fun.
the board game with the procedurally generated map and the tiles? Is that one? Where you can play a mad scientist or like a little girl? I think I played that.
I think so.
Did you play the mad scientist or the little girl?
Oh, both.
Oh, okay.
Friends General Haig is here.
Hello.
I got Harry's on-air sign. Absolutely. He's on pro with the studio look. S-Tanks for the win. If you like your S-Tanks, I don't know if you watch Tank Chats from the Tank Museum YouTube channel.
Yeah, that was
They've
fun.
restarted it because they've covered everything. They've restarted the series, starting with the really popular one and doing a longer form one. Because I think their original plan was to do like 10 minutes on a tank, and they were just getting longer and longer and longer and longer and longer. They were like, let's start again and do long ones.
Yeah, but the new S-Tank video is not done by anybody from the museum. It's actually done by a Swedish museum guy who was an S-Tank tanker before he became a museum curator. So it's all those great stories about we always carried a big ton of rags because the bottom of the tank was always full of oil. So we just had a ton of rags in the bottom to soak it all up.
Well, there you go. And we can all agree that the S-Tank isn't a tank. So Lazy Parrot Painting says, business night finishing touches for some Ratkin Hackpaw Cavalry and Phoenix for Kings of War. I mean, Kings of War have just done a new series of starter sets. I've been looking at them. I know they've done a lot of new plastics over the past few years. I'm interested, but there's just no time for modeling and painting anything that we're not already doing. Although I do have a big cardboard box down here I'm going to talk about later. Rich M is here, and Alan wants to say hi to Harry. Some of you may have heard it before, but I came across YouTube Shorts is a beautiful thing, and I come across a lot of Ronald Reagan's jokes that he used to give during his speeches, and people have just cropped that bit out, So good one. I've been telling it to the kids today, and they're quite horrified by the story, so I thought they'd enjoy it. So, there's a court case going on, and this farmer has been involved in a car accident, and he's making this compensation claim, and the the defender, as it were, the guy covering for the insurance, says to him, "Did you say at the time that you've never felt better in your life?" And he says, "Yes, sir, I did say that." The guy passes over the witness. He's like, "Okay, well, what else do I need?" His own lawyer then gets up and says, "What were the circumstances under which you said this?" And he said, "Well, there was a terrible, terrible mess. I was in agony." And the sheriff's deputy turned up. He got out of his car and he went over to my horse. It had a big gash in its chest. It had 2 broken legs at the front. It was in agony. So he put his pistol in its ear and did away with it. Then my dog was mangled. It had been on the front. It had been in the front of the car, and it was in a terrible, terrible way, yelping in agony. So he put his pistol straight between its ears and put the dog out of its misery. And he then turned to me and he said, "How are you feeling?"
Yeah, I'd be feeling fine too under those circumstances.
I'd be feeling pretty good at that moment.
1.5 thumbs up, officer.
John's not happy with this joke. No. What's this?
Oh, well, you tried.
Kaiser is thinking about Betrayal on the House of the Hill. Friends of General Haig is still painting Polish Wing Hussars. And Tony Holton, Betrayal on the House of the Hill. All right.
Let's do the thing, Harry, whilst he's coughing.
Furiously.
Just on the off chance that nobody watching knows who the hell you are,
Good point.
can you tell the people at home where they can find you on Tinterwebs?
No, I refuse. No, that's actually... I'm Harry from Fog of War. Fog of War is an occasional YouTube channel that talks about Flames of War, Team Yankee, all of that Battlefront stuff in 15mm. I occasionally stick in the odd weird plastic aeroplane that I find and things like that. But that's where I am. So I am on the interwebs at YouTube. I am also on Facebook. And that's who I am and where I am. And I don't know why anybody would want to come and find me, but that's all right.
Why? Because you do awesome narrated reviews on Flames of War kits. That's why, Harry.
I do review things.
And you've got your nice new studio, so one assumes that your production rate is going to skyrocket in the near future.
I hope so. Yeah, I have a huge pile of shame. I don't know about you guys. I have this huge pile of stuff that I've bought. Particularly stuff that I've bought that I don't intend to field, but I do intend to review. And then, unfortunately, because the process of researching and getting the historical stuff and getting all the review stuff happening, it's actually quite a lengthy process. So I've got a whole bunch of stuff, like Jag Tigers and all sorts of stuff. So Wikipedia. I might do more live stuff. Yeah, quick Wikipedia and...
Control P. Oosh. Done. Read it. Jobs are good.
Anyway, so I might do more live unboxing type stuff now that I've got the studio. Have I done a live stream with you guys with the new studio up and running before, or is this?
I think partially.
Yeah,
we did something. I seem to remember. I forget what it was. It must have been whatever came out the back end of last year.
Yeah.
And I can't think what that was now.
It was probably Bulge German. Because we made lots of bulgy German jokes.
Yeah. Was that... What did you have the studio?
Or was it bulgy British?
Was it Bulge British? Plastic Centurions we were talking about.
Yeah.
And comets and stuff. Yeah, definitely that's what it was. All right. So yeah, tonight we're going to talk about upcoming Flames of War release, particularly the first tranche of that is imminent. It's early February. It's slated for, which is the Berlin is the brand.
Berlin.
The branding they're giving to this super late war.
There you go, subs. Have a drink.
Battle of Berlin, and what's coming out in the next couple of weeks is the Berlin Soviet box, Starter Army, the Berlin Soviet book with the various formations in it. And the new 2-player starter set for late war, which is quite an interesting starter set, I think. Partly because it includes the Jag Tiger, which
it does.
I was not expecting.
Which is in my review pile of shame, but never mind. I'll get there one day.
Yeah. So, Harry, you got some slides for us.
I always have slides, so if you'd like to whack my slides up,
right? You rarely have slides, except when we have guests on. You see. So here are the slides.
Look.
Oh, look, the Soviet flag over the Reichstag.
Yeah, indeed. The non-doctored version.
Yeah, I forget which one's the legit one and which one's the one...
The legit one is the one where they're wearing all the watches they've looted off German civilians. Those all got airbrushed out in the official photos because they didn't want to show their soldiers wearing bunches of watches.
Right. Oh, you mean like 4 on the wrist of each guy because they're from the dead?
Yep.
Yeah.
But no, that's the original. So you'll notice the guy at the bottom holding the guy so he doesn't fall off the building has watches on either hand.
Right, yes. Loot.
Yeah, so this is very, very late war stuff for Berlin. So we've already done Bagration, which is 1944. So you've already got a lot of Soviet lists. These are the much more seasoned shock troops who are the survivors of all the other battles who are getting up and into Berlin.
Yeah. So if you're looking for a Horde army, like Al had mentioned earlier, this is probably not the book for you.
It's probably not. These are all the heroes and guards and formations and what have you. So the first release wave that's coming out fairly soon, as you said, there's the book, there's the unit cards and command cards. There's an Ace campaign. I actually don't know what's in that, but I assume there's something where you can actually play the Battle for Berlin like a campaign. So have a number of interlocked battles about breaking through the German resistance and actually taking the Reichstag.
Yeah, but the Flames of War published campaigns that I've seen, they're like, you play these missions in this order.
Yeah.
Oh.
I don't know whether there's any, like, if you won the last one, you get this or something. But it's not one of these, like, you have off-table assets and build them up and stuff.
So unfortunately, the Battle for Berlin set, that's kind of me saying, yeah, it's there, but I haven't seen any details about what's in it. So everything I say about that one is an educated guess, because I haven't got access to that yet.
Two-player starter set?
No, so on the slide, if you have a look, there's a little box set called Battle for Berlin.
Right.
So that's, as far as I can tell, it's a bunch of cards that might do particular scenarios or what have you, but we'll have to see.
We'll have to see what that is.
Is it not just full of aces and characters?
Could be too, so yeah, I'm not sure. But they haven't given me access to that yet, so I don't know what's in it. But I did notice it and go, oh, that's something out of the ordinary.
Access denied.
Yes. So the period it does cover is... So Bagration comes up to January 45. This is February 45 to the end of the war. So it really is only a few months. But it does start with, I think, the battle for Romania and all the way through to Berlin, if that makes sense. And as Kaiser rightly said, the Berlin book is the best of the best. It's the heroes and the guards and all of those specialist formations.
For the Soviets.
For the Soviets,
for the Germans.
Yeah. So the Germans will be coming in a couple of months is the official word from Battlefront. They haven't actually released a date for that yet. So, Alad, if you want a Horde army, probably Bagration. But these guys, if you want to add a bit of punch. So I did actually put up the releases. So these are the release dates starting on February 11th. And that's when the new starter set comes out, the book comes out. There's a box set for M4 Sherman Forward Detachment. That'll make... I have a guy who watches some of my stuff called Spammerai, and Spammerai is a very big Sherman fan, so he'll be very happy to see Lend-Lease M4A2 Shermans for the Soviets. The unit cards and the Ace campaign card pack, so it is actually a card pack. A week later, they follow it up with a bunch of direct-only range, so things that are available from select retailers and direct from Battlefront.
And
which includes
resin or metal or cider.
Yeah, so these are
probably hard resin metal.
Resin, I would imagine. But including, Johnny, I thought you might be interested in the mounted Cossacks.
Yeah, man. Cossacks and a Tachanka Cossack HMG wagon.
A HMG wagon. So we've got a horse-drawn wagon with a heavy machine gun in it.
Yeah, put me down.
Yeah, I thought you might like those. Also, the Ford GPA Jeep. So that's if memory serves me correctly, the amphibious Jeep?
Right.
Ford GPA Jeep. Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, so they stuck some flotation tanks on a Jeep so you could drive it across the river.
And persuaded some guys to get in it.
Yeah.
Yeah. These are things for the propaganda footage, not for real use.
No. So with the Cossacks, I am guessing that those are going to be a command card, because I couldn't find the Cossacks anywhere in the book. I went through and had a good look.
Right.
So I'm guessing you can turn your motor rifle company into mounted Cossacks for so many points or whatever.
So this is one of them things where I kind of like Flames of War, because I would Flames of War is historical battles, but it does have its mid-war monsters. It does have all of its it's Team Yankee. It's not ultra modern. It's not in the real world. It's at a tangent to it and tries to put that difference. So it doesn't trouble itself over things like Cossacks. There were a lot of Cossacks in the Soviet army. But they were mounted infantry, and they did not fight on horseback.
No.
Because they didn't want to die in horrific
horsey charges against machine guns would go great.
Yeah, there's lots of propaganda footage of it. And there definitely are on the organizations. A lot of the armored light armored divisions, like your T-70s and so forth, are backed up by 10,000 horsemen. But they're not fighting from horseback. They're moving strategically on horseback, but they're not fighting on horseback.
Fair dues.
In the age of the magazine-fed rifle and belt-fed machine gun, it's a really bad idea.
Mm-hmm.
They're not just putting saddles on T whatevers they are.
On T-70, put a leather saddle on it, and well, they might have done. They might have
a bunch of Cossacks riding in on that.
Well, they used to do lots of tank rider stuff.
Yeah.
So you might also notice on February 18, they've got the Red Banner Colour Party as well. So those guys on the Reichstag with the flag, you can actually buy
be like
those.
A diorama piece.
Yeah.
Oh,
and
I actually think they're a fieldable unit.
Well, you did again. There's lots of propaganda footage of people waving red banners running into battle, but I don't know how much of that really happened.
We'll talk a little bit about that later. He said, foreshadowing mightily. And then on February the 25th, we've got the rest of them. So there's the gaming set, the M4 Sherman platoon box comes out. Bed spring armor, they're bringing back the old plastic bed spring armor that you can stick on your IS-2s and your T-34s.
Oh, is that plastic? It's not little resin bits?
It's plastic, yeah.
Right. And this works like Schertzen, right? It gives you a defense against infantry anti-tank weapons.
Yeah.
But was it literally made out of bed springs?
Tell them what it is.
Yeah, Johnny, they used to loot German beds and just get the bed springs off them and weld them on the outside of the tanks to detonate like Panzerfaust rounds and Panzerschreck before they actually hit the hull. So basically like spaced armor.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's weld a bed on the outside of our tank and off we go.
Because it's a mesh. Yeah. Once you burn the fabric away, it's a mesh.
It's just a mesh. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that was the old days when the springs in your mattress was actually the thing underneath on the bed frame. Like the actual mattress itself was stuffed with horsehair, not like our modern mattresses with springs and
so
stuff
the bed's
in them.
Dead.
Yeah, so it's like the bed's dead part.
Right, yeah.
Wow.
To be honest, they're not Battlefront's best work because they're basically just a rectangle with either like a square mesh in it or a slightly angled mesh. They don't look particularly like beds, but I'm not sure how you model bed springs in plastic in 15 millimeter. So, an attempt was made.
Good.
So, Johnny, I think the next thing up is something you would like. It's a 203 millimeter howitzer. You get two of them in a box.
You had a picture of this on the previous page. You had a photograph of one, didn't you?
I did.
With like 20 men standing on it.
Yeah. So basically, it's a huge howitzer on tracks that can drive around under its own power.
Then go back a couple of slides, find it on the first one.
There it is.
On the left.
Bottom left-hand corner.
On the left.
Bottom left.
On the left. Okay. Oh, right,
so it's a great big howitzer with tracks on. So basically, they would go through the streets of Berlin with one of these things, and if they took fire from a building, they would just
Just level it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, they had these for a while, and for a while they were like theatre level assets. But of course, as the war goes on, they've got more and more and more. And so then they reach a point where they're using it not for kind of a strategic bombardment. They're just driving them down the street,
direct fire.
Building.
Yeah, yep, direct fire straight into the building.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought you'd like that, Johnny.
Yeah, that's
so that's one of the few cases where Kaiser approves of heavy artillery being on a battlefield as small as it, because they did use it like that.
It was used at the range of 200 meters on the table. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And 160 mil mortars, so they're bringing back all the nice big, heavy, as you say, front level artillery assets.
Yeah, because there's just so much more of it.
Yeah,
evolved to a much lower level, and these are the best armies. These are the ones with all the toys.
But also, it's city fighting in Berlin, so they can't bring all that stuff up. They're having to drive it up and down the streets.
As much as they never expect to catch Hitler, they do know he hasn't left.
Yeah.
Or officially he hasn't left, which means that the Germans are putting up, they're not retreating to Vienna or something. They're going to make a fight for it here.
Yeah.
A serious fight. What we haven't done before we go through this is maybe just talk a little bit about that situation, Harry. Just
sure.
You might be interested as well as the kits. So you're talking... So is it April 1945?
Yeah.
April 1945. Stalin and East and West Germany, it's already been split up, right? The Allies and the Comintern, as it were, the Soviet
That was at Yalta, wasn't it?
Yalta, the year before. This is how we're going to split it. Eisenhower is determined that he isn't going to lose any more men than he needs to. So he's not going to rush for Berlin to capture the prize at the cost of 1 million American lives or whatever. Stalin says, yeah, same. But he doesn't believe us at all. And so he keeps changing which of his two front commanders is going to get to go for Berlin. And he keeps moving the line between them where one army stops and one front stops and another one begins. Because he knows it's the big prize and he wants to get there quickly. So he's racing his marshals. He's behind them, lashing
because it was
not quicker.
Was it Zhukov and was it Rosakovsky or Chukov?
Is it Chukov? No, Chukov's a Stalingrad guy.
So Rosakovsky and Zhukov are both racing to get to Berlin first. So they're just going hell for leather, pushing their units, and kicking through, bypassing stuff just to get to Berlin.
So kind of on the Oder, which is the last significant river, and it's not like the Rhine or the Volga kind of significant river, but it is a natural obstacle. The Russians have paused to bring up the supplies and everything. They're going to have this huge set piece battle, and the Germans have built 3 defensive lines, concentric rings of fortifications around the east, and the Soviets they're going to bombard the crap out of it, and then they're going to attack. So the Germans abandon the front line. They don't defend it on what's called the Silo Heights.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
they're intending to just let the shells land on the empty trenches. And the Russians, they've really thought about this. They're like, we've got to make it work. And so they decide not only is there a lot of smoke, but for the first time they employ huge numbers of searchlights because they're going to attack at night or at dusk. Just before dusk, when hopefully the Germans are not quite ready for them. So they've got all these massive searchlights deployed in the hundreds, in batteries of them. But of course, anybody who knows anything about this sort of thing says that just makes the Russian troops silhouetted against the darkness beautifully. It doesn't. They don't penetrate their own smoke, but they illuminate their own troops.
Yeah. But also because they're using it as reflected light, they're trying to push it up off the clouds and the whatever.
And stuff,
they end up actually doing more harm with the searchlights than good.
A great deal of harm. But then this terrific battle rages. The Russian troops are crawling a few hundred yards a day, forwards. There's the last days of the Führer bunker when he's kind of they know almost to the minute when the Russians are going to be here because of the rate of advance. And Hitler shoots himself when they're about 50 yards away.
So Anthony Beevor's book of Berlin is very, very good. I don't know if you have a recommendation of books for anybody, but I really enjoyed the Beevor book of that one.
Is that one? Is it called Armageddon? Is that Anthony Beevor or is that Max Hastings?
Might be Max Hastings.
Yeah, that might be Max Hastings one.
Yeah. Anyway, so we've talked about the book coming out.
Sorry,
That's okay. No, always happy to go and do some history. You know me.
Yeah.
Unit cards, command cards. I didn't get a look at the command cards this time. They usually send them through when they send the PDF through for the book, but so I couldn't tell you what command cards there are, apart from the ones I've seen discussed online. So, for example, there are night attack cards, because apparently the Soviets were doing a lot of night attack infiltration, attacking when the Germans aren't expecting them, that sort of thing. So that's something you can take as a Soviet player. So the command cards is where Battlefront put in the flavor. So they're trying to keep the rule books fairly simple, but if you want to add special effects or different units or those sorts of things, they're giving you access through the command cards.
Yeah.
I've always thought the command cards. Yep. Oh yeah, with the chat.
It's been a while, hasn't it? I realise I'm winging right back up. Nick has joined us, Medieval Warrior. Hello there, my friend. Lunch next for Italian. Harry is my favourite review guy.
Thanks, Fernando.
Harry's content. If you want single kit reviews with history and detail with arrows pointing at every spigot, Harry's reviews are principally why we don't do single kit reviews of Flames of War stuff. Harry does it better. What will the new free nations for Team Yankee be? I'm going to say Anzacs is my guess, but that's for another day. Harry?
They've actually announced that, so it's going to be Swedes.
Oh.
I thought they said and others, though. That they were definitely
there is an and other, and it might be Finland, but it's definitely the Swedes because the S-Tank is coming. It could possibly be Denmark because they had
Finland's definitely
Centurions.
Not a free nation.
Yes, that's true. So possibly Denmark.
Denmark, maybe, yeah. Italy. Oh, I don't. He's very big on not making something he don't think he can make money on. I reckon he's not on the list, mate. Is the Aces series an escalation campaign? Interesting. Not sure.
I don't know, unfortunately.
Hordes of old men with panzers. Oh, yeah, the German army, the Horde army, definitely. Some Kings of War chat. Richard here finally got to...
Hey, Richard.
Hi there. A Russian Schwimmwagen. That's in relation to that American Jeep.
Yeah, the GPA Jeep.
Yeah. So this...
for the Cossacks.
This is Cossacks, I think. So they were a command card immigration.
Yeah, cool.
At mid-war. So that makes sense.
I guessed right.
Paul Parker, E4 Airman. Self-propelled backwards. Was that in relation to that howitzer?
No, I think he's talking about when it fires, it self-propels backwards.
Yeah.
Alan's getting to it. You can't have a horde of those, Alan.
No, they're going to be expensive.
Oh, Zhukov and Konev.
Konev. Yes, I think you're right. I think it is Konev. I wasn't happy with the names we had.
Yeah, fair enough.
Konev. Sub, you're going to be Muller. Did say Berlin a few times back there.
Yeah.
Nice representation, downfall. Yeah, I mean, I have one problem with that movie. It's how massively it's been memed. The problem with that movie. Max Hastings is Armageddon.
Yeah.
That was My Poor Liver. Scandinavian countries.
Yeah, Nordic forces. That's why I was thinking forces. Finland. Yeah.
And then he said Free Nations, which is where subs. So I'm just looking at what they already do in plastic, where they might not have to do too much more.
Yeah.
Is why I'm saying they might come up with some Anzac cards, because I don't think there's been an official Anzac. I know they make some.
No, there is. In the last Free Nations, there's an official Anzac, but they managed to bollocks the organisations up quite a bit.
Right.
There has been some heated exchanges from Australians and Battlefront. So the whispers I'm getting is that they're going to fix some of the more egregious organisation issues. Having said that, that was a time of massive reorganisation for the Australian Army. So depending on which version of the briefing documents you read about how things were organised, that stuff would change week by week, apparently.
And the documents only tell you how they were planning to reorganise, never how things are currently organised.
Absolutely.
So that it's one of the things, like, as an historian, you have to realise is tables of organisation stuff are only ever what they plan to do next.
Yeah.
Never what they were actually doing at any time.
Yeah. So no, we don't actually know what the extra nation is going to be for Free Nations. So Free Nations is the French, the Canadians, the Dutch, and the Australians, and they're
Wakanda.
looking in the new. It could be Wakanda. Yep, the new vibranium armored tanks.
Vibranium.
Maybe it's a combination with the Anzacs. Vibranium armored kangaroo assault cavalry.
Yep. Well, we could just field emus.
We are rapidly drifting way off.
We are drifting. Let's talk.
What you're on about.
This looks awesome.
Let's look two-player Clash of Steel. So this is the new, very very late war two-player starter they're bringing out for this thing, and it's a mishmash. There's a lot of weird stuff in here. So Kaiser, you mentioned there's a Jagdtiger in it.
There's a Jagdtiger in it, mate.
Just
how
one.
do you not want that?
Just one, right in the middle there. There he is. So, yeah, what do the Germans get? So they get a couple of Panzer 470s, a couple of Panthers, and a Jagdtiger, and some of their very nice plastic infantry, against a bunch of T-34-85s, some of the lovely little BA-64 armoured cars, a couple of IS-2s, and some ISU 122s in the back.
Yeah.
Is that what they are?
Yeah.
ISU 122s, yeah. So, kit-wise, I think the ISU 122 is the same kit as the ISU 152.
Yes.
One is the 122 is the anti-tank gun, 152 is the direct fire howitzer.
The howitzer, yep.
Yeah, which is a hell of a door knocker. A 6-inch gun.
And that's an old kit. Like that kit's 6 or 7 or 8 years old now in plastic.
And
it's one of their early ones.
They all share the same lower hull with the IS-2.
They do.
Like half the frame is the same for all of them big tanks, which is fine because it is kind of broadly the same. I don't know how exactly identical. So I'll tell you what I like about this. There's two things I like about this. I like the fact that it is not giving you the same kits that you've had in all the other starter sets. You know, there could have been just like Panzer IV Lates in here, some Pak 40s, and some T-34s, and that is a perfectly reasonable Berlin. Or it could have been just German infantry or something. Yeah. So they're giving you the Panzer IV L70 is the Jagdpanzer. It's the late war with the high velocity long 75mm gun. It's
and everybody that's used them,
Panther, I think.
So and everybody that's used them in Flames of War says point for point, it's the best way to get that gun on the table.
Right. Okay. But I mean, this isn't a competitive set, though. It's not. It's supposed to introduce you to the game.
It is, and it gives you a little taster of everything. But I mean, they are meant to be very more useful than you would expect from a lesser-known vehicle.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So if you and I like the fact that they're asymmetrical. I like that a lot. Like the Jagdtiger, the German force is definitely weaker here,
but they still have the odd Wunderwaffe.
But they've got the Wunderwaffe, right? It's like, but it's probably only going to kill 1-2 tanks every 3 turns.
Yeah.
It's just any 2 tanks over 3 turns. So it's a problem. I think there's some replayability in this. You're talking about like getting into the game. You play this, and you've got your different variations. You realize the BA-64s are useless until you learn the recon rule.
Yeah.
At which point you're going, oh, hang on, no, I want them. Remember, I think there's
forward on the table.
Yeah, and I think you can take these and you go, okay, I want to build a Panther force. You buy a box of Panthers, and your army's changed a lot. It isn't a sensible force. It's not even a legal one, I don't think, in Flames of War. But as a starting player experience, I like it.
But also, as the Berlin thing, it's a lot of shit they had lying around chucked into the battle.
Yes.
So, I mean, the Soviets at this point are the strongest they've ever been. They've got stuff rolling out of the tank factories. They've got reasonably well-trained and experienced infantry now. The Germans, on the other hand, are battered. They've lost the best of the best. They're doing whatever they can with whatever's left. And that, I think, is reflected in the way that there's a bunch of different stuff there.
Yeah.
And it's not just all Panthers because we ran out of all Panthers. We're patching holes with self-propelled guns.
There's going to be some because it's, you know, to a wargamer, a Panther is a late war powerful tank. So to the German army, it's the current model of medium tank. They're what we're building now.
Absolutely.
It's the current model. Anything that came out of the factory yesterday was one of these.
But I mean, this is the point of the war where the Germans are scouring the museums for, you know, can we make this operational? Wasn't it you who said something like they actually had like a World War I British tank in a museum somewhere that they were seriously considering about trying to reactivate for the defense of Berlin?
I don't think I said that. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised. Because this is again one of those things that, you know, doing more history talk than wargaming talk now. One of the things that war games doesn't make sense in the same way, because war games are generally equal or on some level equal. Even if you find a historical battle, you usually look for one where there's some level of parity in a game to be had. So, you know, why this tank is rubbish. 1 for 1, the Panthers are way better tanks in. Yeah. But if you've got a Mark V World War I tank and they haven't got any anti-tank equipment, it's still an indestructible mobile pillbox.
It is.
You know, there are situations when that BA-64 is bulletproof, largely, right?
Yeah.
You know, but you don't get these situations that much on the war games table because you've got a degree of parity and freedom to choose, rather than and in a street battle. On this street right now, this T-70 is the most powerful thing in the world because there's nothing better than it here. Nothing that can deal with it.
So I actually have a Soviet World War II list that I built for a tournament that came up. And interestingly, I love the IS-2s, and my force was built around IS-2s.
Didn't you take like 10 of them to a tournament and get hammered?
I did. I got hammered. They were very, very good for holding everybody's attention. Like when you start sticking IS-2s on the table, everybody goes, oh, crap.
Yeah.
But I was having trouble hitting anything with them.
You're still only getting the one shot, right?
Yeah, the IS-85s, the earlier one with the same gun as the T-34, did better anti-tank work. So I spent most of my time using the IS-2s to distract everybody while I sent my KV flame tanks and my lighter stuff around to do all the damage. Yeah. So Alad, keep that in mind. But if you've got 203mm howitzers, you won't need anything much else.
Yeah, you won't have points for anything much else.
You won't have points for anything much else.
Yeah.
So let's have a quick look. Yeah, let's have a quick look at what you actually get in this particular book, because this book is very limited. If you have a look at this, for a Soviet force diagram, there's not much here. So the only things you get in this book are the M4 Sherman lists, the T-34 forward detachment list, some IS-2 lates, and a few hero infantry lists. So as we said earlier, this is the cream of the crop. These are the guards, the heroes, the whatever.
Yeah.
Everything else, all the standard stuff you want to take, is in the Bagration book. So unless you really want to build an up-to-the-minute hero or guards force, you're actually going to need to take some stuff from the Bagration book with this as well.
Yeah.
So there's no standard motor rifle guys in here. There's no, it's all heroes.
Yeah. Everything in this book, I think, is hit on 4s, which is quite new for Soviets.
Yeah. So, but I mean, these are the guys who've survived. One better than...
It's one better.
Yeah. Because you get the sappers, which we'll talk about a little bit later, and they are awesome. They've got really aggressive stats. So I just thought
with bed spring armor. I think so.
You certainly can.
Hero IS-2. You're definitely getting superior crews in these.
Hero IS-2s.
Whether they hit on
IS-2
threes or
lates.
fours, I can't remember.
Yeah, so on the diagram there, you probably can't see it because it's a little bit small. I had to make that small to get the whole thing in. But yeah, you've got IS-2 lates, and then I think underneath you've got Hero IS-2 lates. And they've changed the hull casting on the IS-2, so it's slightly thicker at the front. You actually get slightly better armor in this particular book for your IS-2s.
Right.
And then you've got all the other fun stuff like Sturmovix and assault guns and all of that stuff in support.
And if you played mid-war and you've had Sturmovix and you looked at them and thought, oh, these Sturmovix look great for a couple of points, then you played them and realised they can never drop their bombs because they're not skilled enough to acquire a target, these are going to have a better pilot.
Yeah.
So these bombs will drop.
Which will be nice. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
My Sturmovix came on a lot, but they didn't do a lot.
Yeah. But you have that double jeopardy problem with the mid-war Sturmovix. A, they come on half the time. B, when they do, they never acquire a target.
Yeah. So one of the other boxes that's going to come out is the M4 Sherman Forward Detachment. So this is interesting. So this is a new Sherman kit. This is the M4A2.
It's not.
It's the M4A3 with an M4A2 hull.
It's the M4A3 with an upgrade sprue.
Yeah.
Which has got a different upper hull.
Yeah.
Because the M4A2 and the M4A3 have got a different engine.
Yeah. Basically.
One's diesel and one's petrol, I think.
I was disappointed because I had hoped it would be a proper M4A2 kit, which could be built as the late large hatch or the early small hatch, because my British could use a whole bunch of M4A2 earlies in Italy, but this kit won't do that, unfortunately.
Are you sure? Because the M4A3 kit that they do it's very broad. It's got lots of extra bits and multiple hatch types on it.
Yeah, but it doesn't have, like, it's a completely different front hull.
It's a different arrangement. Is it square on rather than angled?
Yeah.
And that's
so it's the early one with the small. So it's got the different angle on the hull and the smaller hatches that stick out the front.
Yeah.
That won't do this for the British. Yeah, Johnny's doing the shrug. You know. Yep.
Who's gonna know?
Spamerai. I have a guy who watches my stuff who is a Sherman aficionado.
You mean a rivet counter?
No, he loves Shermans. So he was busy talking about giving Cuba Shermans and all sorts of stuff for all the different releases that were coming out, which was a lot of fun. But
I've got to say, I was pretty surprised they announced they were doing this because, performance-wise, and even a rivet counter can tell the difference, but actually, I couldn't tell you the difference without looking it up.
Yeah.
I knew that the threes and the twos were different. A lot of the twos went to Russia because they had diesel engines.
Yeah.
They went better in the intense cold weather. It's that way around, isn't it? Yeah. And it's that way around. I sort of knew that, so I assumed that they would be a bit different on the engine deck. But I looked at some photographs and was like, these do not look that different.
They're not massively different.
Not in the way it does versus the welded. They look really different.
Yes. What it will do, though, is if they ever do the Pacific, it'll give them a tank for the Marines, because the Marines use the M4A2 as well.
Right.
So in the Pacific, those will be useful. But again, this is we'll get some Lend-Lease in so that people can, use their Shermans with their Russians.
Yeah.
So you'll notice with the box set, what have you got? There's infantry, Shermans, some T-70 light tanks, Su-76s, Su-122s.
Or they might be. They're quite long, so they're not 85s. I don't think. No, they are because they're not big.
Yeah,
the hull isn't that big. That's a T-34 hull, so that's the Su-85.
Yeah,
or Su-100.
Su-100.
Yeah, 100. That's an interchangeable kit.
It is. Katyushas and, interestingly, some of the American half-tracks with anti-tank guns on the back of them, anti-aircraft guns.
So they're the M15 stroke, M16 stroke, M17, depending on who they gave it to.
Yep, or the ZU-17, as the Russians called them. Yeah.
And that's a plastic kit, surprisingly.
It is a plastic kit. It's in my review pile of shame. One day I'll get to it.
Yeah. Whether that comes with Russian crew figure. I mean, I'm sure there's some Cast crew with that.
Yeah, I'm sure there are.
So there's nothing new in here except for those Shermans.
Yeah, so the Shermans are what's new with all of that. But it gives you an interestingly mixed force of stuff
to an existing Soviet player.
Yeah.
Especially like the SUs, there can be A or B type.
Yep.
Those SU-76s, I think they're great. I think they're
They're wonderful. They're really good.
They're pretty fast. I mean, as a direct fire platform for the gun you get for the points you pay for it and the option to fire it in a bombardment for 6 cheap guns.
Yeah, absolutely. So in the book, they actually give you. Yeah, they did in Korea. In fact, they were used in a number of places. Yeah. So they actually give you forward detachment lists that match this, so you can actually field that interesting mix of Lend-Lease tanks and Soviet equipment and infantry, and you'll notice these guys are hero guards, so these are pretty awesome.
Do we have pictures for us yet? I don't know whether how it got, but these are not new kits. What we've seen so far. The only thing that's new in there is the Sherman kit has got another upgrade sprue, which is a different upper hull. So have you seen the M4A1, the cast hull Sherman, and the 76 version has got, again, it's got a separate sprue with the different turret and a different upper hull. It's that kind of arrangement.
And that's what we're expecting. Yeah.
Yeah. But we've not seen that yet. I can't remember why I know. No, I think they did it in an interview.
Somebody mentioned it. Yeah. That it's the M4A3 kit with a different hull.
Yeah.
So somebody was asking about Hero Guards heavy tank regiments. Yep, here we go. So this is get your late IS-2s and then you get some SMG infantry with them, or engineer sappers. So by this stage of the war, the Soviet sapper engineers have, I think, flamethrowers and all sorts of other smoke pots and other weird things that they can have. Their body armor. That's correct. I've forgotten about the body armor.
There's the special rule.
That's the one. There's the special rule.
That's why there's 6s to kill in bolt action.
Yep.
I don't know. What does the rule do in Flames of War? Does it give you another save?
Yeah, I think it gives you a save of you roll again, and if you have a 6, you get saved by the body armor.
Right. Yeah.
That is harsh. Because infantry aren't, durable enough, right?
Yep. So if you fail your infantry save and they make their firepower roll, you still have one more roll to pull it off 1 in 6 times to not be dead.
Do the sappers have Panzerfaust? I don't remember specifically the
Soviets. Yes, they do.
Yeah,
they absolutely do. Yep.
Does it make sense?
Yeah, I mean, why not use captured Panzerfaust? They're very useful. That's in there. Here we go. Hero Engineer Sappers. US Marines used both the small and large hatch M4A2s. Yep, they did.
Yeah, depending on the period, presumably.
Unfortunately, what I'd want to use them for is the British, and they mainly used small hatch. So what do we got? Engineer Sappers. So this would be an interesting list to take because you get lots of lovely hero engineer sappers. So they're all hard to hit. They've got body armor. They've got Panzerfaust. Some of them have smoke pots. And then you can just nail on like IS-2s, an assault tank company, SP batteries, flamethrowers. Flamethrowers are not always effective. You have to get them into very close range, but they scare the bollocks out of people as soon as you put them on the table. Like my KV-8 flamethrowers with tank riders on them were the scariest things on the battlefield. You would really frighten people with them because they'd rumble up nice and close, flame the hell out of things, and then the next turn the infantry would pile off and kick whoever was left. They were great. So the assault tank company is weird. That gives you a mix of, I think it's Su-152 assault guns and a T-34.
Right.
As a
This must
single
be
unit.
based upon. Oh, it may well be like a command tank or something like that.
Yeah.
Because of availability. Like the Germans have a lot of that in the early war and towards the mid war. It's like we're all these except the commander's in a different one because we haven't got enough of the things that the new thing.
But I also think it's they were using smaller, weird, mixed, flexible units. So they had the mobility of a tank, but they had the heavy firepower of the 152mm guns all stuck within a single platoon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the 152s are direct fire HE.
Yeah. Make buildings go away.
Big shell. Yeah. It's a really big shell. Yeah.
So we talked about the banner guys.
There we go.
Yeah, there are rules for them.
There are rules for them.
Yeah, there's a couple of pages of rules for them. And it talks about the history of which particular unit took a banner into the Reichstag and who's officially credited with putting the flag out and who it might have actually been. So it's all mired in controversy. But yeah, you actually get these things that you can buy, the direct-only banner guys, and there are rules for actually using them.
Nice.
I wonder what it does.
Kind of very Russian, isn't it?
Yeah. Very hoorah.
Very hoorah. What did you say, John?
I said, I wonder what it does in game. Does it?
Yeah, I'd have to go back and actually read the rules properly. I skimmed through that one.
On +1 motivation to units within 6
Yeah.
inches.
Yeah, something like that.
It's going to be something like that, right?
Something like that. So here you go, John. Here's these 203mm guns.
I mean, that is obscene.
That's pretty awesome, isn't it?
What I like about that is the number of crew. It's more accurate number of crew for artillery. It's like, these shells are big, dude.
It's like 8 dudes trying to lift the shell at the back there.
Yeah, pushing it up the ramp.
I don't fancy being the guy to pull the cord or push the button or whatever it was to fire it, because I bet you felt that in your bones.
Yeah.
Yeah, and one of your hands isn't over one of your ears.
Yeah. So,
So you'll notice it has no tactical move.
And so it can't move and shoot.
Right.
It can't move and shoot, so it has to dash, and it's got a 2-inch dash.
Oh,
so
right. Road dash,
you can rev it up. Yeah, 4-inch road dash. Rah. Not having a tactical move does give you a problem if you get assaulted, though. Because if you get assaulted and you lose the assault, you can't
fall
retreat
back
far enough, and you get captured.
Yeah.
I love its cross
with
number.
an 88-inch range. With an 88-inch range, you might as well deploy them off the table and then fire onto the table from the off-table position.
It's 16-inch direct fire you're looking for, John.
Yep. Drive it right up to a building and make it go away.
Oh, yeah, with an anti-tank F-13. Firepower auto.
So, I love, it's got the brutal rule, but for this one it really should be brutal with an exclamation mark.
Yeah. Wow.
So brutal makes infantry reroll infantry saves, right?
Yeah. So yes, when this thing goes boom, everybody listens. But yeah, the cross is 6, so you wouldn't want to take it across a lot of rubble or difficult terrain because it would just bog.
That anti-tank power 4 against its artillery against top armor, that's going to kill you.
Top armor, yeah. That's a big boom.
Yeah. A top armor, max top armor is 2 on something like a Tiger, right?
Yeah. So there you go, Alad. There's something to play with. And they're only 10. They're only 5 points each. 10 points for a pair.
10 points for a pair because they're super vulnerable.
Yeah.
And a 2-gun battery in Flames of War is not great because you get that.
No, they will run away.
If you hit, you still have to re-roll to see if you hit because you're not actually saturating that well.
Yeah.
Boo.
And it's capped at being a 2-gun battery.
Yeah.
Which is why realistically you're looking to use that direct fire. You're putting this on the table because it's cool.
Because you're scaring the hell out of people. Yeah.
Because it's cool.
It focuses your opponent's attention nicely. I'll just put that in there because I thought Johnny would love to see Just
I love the ridiculous
a
stuff.
stupid gun on tracks.
Mechanical.
Pardon me. Sorry, that's the very last of the old post-viral cough there.
No gun shield, mate.
Oh, where is the gun shield? No. So in the book, there's a linked campaign that you can play.
Okay.
So basically, they're trying to model you fighting your way through the streets of Berlin to get to the Reichstag, and they have like a list. So there's a new mission called Buying Time, where basically you're trying to hold up the Soviet advance for as long as you can to help the guys in the next scenario get ready. And so if you have a look, there's a list of them at the bottom there that I think is, you take one type of mission like encirclement or something like that, then you play one of the Buying Time ones to regroup, and then you get escape or breakout, and then another encirclement, and then some Buying Time. So there's a series of games that you can play as the German and Soviet player for the Battle of Berlin.
Oh, it's nice they've given it some thought and put some flavour in the book. Yeah, I mean, I know they normally put missions in the back of these books, but I rarely look at them.
Yeah.
I agree, but when I looked at that, I thought, oh, that's really fitting with the theme of what's happening.
Quality reference. Needs a cowboy waving a Stetson, sitting on a barrel.
Yeehaw!
Barrel, yeehaw. Yep. Yeah, I want the what's it called? The ration kit from that movie.
Yep.
Man could have a good night in Vegas with all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So this is talking future now.
Yeah, this is, so the release schedule says a couple of months.
Yeah.
And that's the closest we've got to an actual date from Battlefront. So yeah, this is the German side of this.
Yeah.
And the new kit for that one is the Panzer II, the plastic Panzer II.
Plastic Panzer IIs.
And it's not the L. So when he said he was in plastic Panzer II, I remember asking him at the time, because he was talking when he was on with us and talking about the long-term future. And they were talking about Berlin, and he mentioned plastic Panzer II, because it was one of my direct questions. That I feel once they've got a 2, 3, and a 4, you can do the whole war.
Yeah.
A Panzer I is a nonsense vehicle. I don't care whether it was in your army or not. It doesn't actually do anything. But once you've got a 2, you're covered. When he said that for later, I was like, "Oh, you're going to do the L, the links, great." And he's like, "No." So they took a very different spin on Berlin. The Berlin German is not the best of the high-end gear at the end of the war. It's the crap we've got lying around in depots, training, factories half repaired.
Yep. So the list that they've got for these when it does come out is a training list. So you've actually got a training battalion that comes out. And I think it's got some Panzer IIs and a Leopard and a bunch of other stuff in it. So it's whatever they had at training camps that they could roll out with, poor untrained crews in them.
And you need to remember, in the spring of the year before, they emptied out the training battalions of all of the good stuff and made it into Panzer Lehr Division.
Yeah.
So the training cadres they've got in the home army is dross. Everybody who was any good in the training cadre went into Panzer Lehr and got annihilated in Normandy.
Yeah. So they also give you a nice Marder based on the Panzer II chassis and the Vespa artillery piece. So
nice.
My German viewers are slowly educating me about how to pronounce stuff properly. So unlike French, where you drop the trailing E, in German you pronounce the Hornice review that I did, apparently all my German viewers were pulling their hair out because it's actually Hornisse in German.
Yeah.
Hornisse. So I had to apologize for that.
And is it like rhinoceros or something?
Rhinoceros is Nashorn. Hornisse is hornet, I believe.
Hornet.
Big long sting.
Nice.
So yeah, that's pretty much all I've got from that's Berlin Soviet, and that's a little taster
what
of
we
what's
know
coming
about.
up for what we know about Berlin German, because they're still being a little bit closed-mouthed about some of that stuff.
Yeah. So it's a sort of a little story to this. They sent out PDFs to reviewers quite a while ago. It was before Christmas, wasn't it, Harry?
Mm.
We got PDFs of the Berlin Soviet book.
Yeah.
Quite a while ago, because I remember emailing you. Like, have you got yours? Yeah, just got it just now.
Yeah.
And we've had to kind of sit on it for quite a long time.
We have.
You know what I mean? Sort of, itching to talk about it, because obviously, the late war is where all of the possibles, especially if you talk about Berlin emptying depots of equipment, anything that appeared in the war could appear in this battle.
Yeah,
could be there. And when you say Harry, you say we don't know anything else. There is one other thing that we do know, which is joked about so often that it is clear that they're doing it.
What's that?
The plastic mouse.
Oh yes.
Really?
It's not for the Berlin German release, but it is coming. Yeah, Pete mentioned it in his Christmas video as something for 2024. Oh, so I'm guessing it's going to be a 1946. So they're going to do a sort of weird World War kind of 1946 thing.
Right. So like a Team Yankee 1946 or whatever. Right.
So again, don't take that as gospel, but it wasn't announced as part of the Berlin German thing. It was kind of there might be something next New Year.
Just in case anybody doesn't know, this is what did you call them when we were talking before the show? It's not quite paper panzers.
Yeah.
This is something like, is it 80? It's not quite 100 tons, but it's getting that way.
Yeah, it's a lot of tons.
80 odd ton tank with a 122, 150 mil anti-tank gun in it. It's an enormous
128
gun.
mil. Yeah, it's an old.
They built two.
Yeah, 1.5.
Yeah, but they did have one that worked.
They did have one that worked, and
they tried to fight with it.
They even put it into action.
Yeah,
and it broke down and was destroyed by its crew.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Oh.
So this thing could barely move. So it was, what was it? Diesel engines driving a generator to run an electric motor, which made it go.
Yeah, because Ferdinand Porsche loved things being really complicated.
Yeah.
So a lot of these things, you'll hear a lot about things being over-engineered in German army. It's a little bit harsh and a little bit simplistic. But what's definitely true, Ferdinand Porsche just seemed to be given unlimited money by the Nazis to develop wonder weapons and was obsessed with doing things in new and novel and innovative ways that he wanted to try and experiment. The problem was they just didn't have access to the kind of materials that would be necessary to make these components. So they need, they've been needing things like tungsten, and they just have
strategic metals.
If we make this out of tungsten, it'll be fine. So, yeah, but we haven't got any. We're not going to get any.
Yeah.
This is the last manganese mine in the Reich was lost last January. There is no more. So this high tech suspension system you want to make that requires manganese, it's non-stop.
Yeah.
And I think,
so I just looked up the mouse. It's 188 tons.
188?
188 tons?
Yeah, 188 tons, 207 short tons, 185 long tons.
Wow, it's a lot heavier than I thought.
Yeah, which is why the damn thing could barely move.
The destroyer is about 200 tons, the small ones. And that's got a crew of about 50 guys.
No wonder it could move.
Yeah.
So there's only one of these left in existence at the Kubinka Tank Museum. And it's the hull they captured of the one that got blown. The hull that was built and didn't go into action, and the turret off the one that they blew up.
Yeah.
Sort of makes it together and stuck in a museum.
Tells you that British tanks were underpowered. Just point at this thing and say, look, mate, have you seen the engine that's trying to put battle on?
Horsepower per ton? No, it's a bit of a non-starter.
Terrible. But under different circumstances with the kind of materials, it was clever. It was innovative. There wasn't a bridge anywhere in the world it could cross, so it was stuck. Could never go more than 30 miles away from the depot because you couldn't get across the river. There was no train that could pull it. None of that. But yeah.
I don't know, if you get enough infantry, they cluster around and pick it up and drag it across.
Oh, yeah. Cleopatra style, pulling up the obelisk. Yeah. Come on, let's get this moving. Yeah.
Stick another log under it.
Yeah. All right, so let's last few minutes. I know John wants to go to bed, and I'm not far behind him. You're just waking up, aren't you, Harry?
I want to get up. Yeah, the sun's come up. The birds are going to sleep.
You have your second breakfast like any good hobbit.
Absolutely.
So other stuff that we know for Battlefront in the kind of future, we talked a little bit about we know maybe not next, but certainly soonish this side of the summer. We're expecting to see the Berlin stuff.
Yeah.
What else? What else do we know? What else have we learned from Mr. Siminovich, who's become a lot more public in recent years and willing to talk about things? And
I think they've discovered that people want to talk to them and want to find out about this stuff. So, I mean, they've started doing live streams and turning up on. I mean, you got them on, and since they've done that, they were on All Miniatures Great and Small recently.
Yes, that's who I watch.
It's a lot of stuff. Yeah,
and they don't play that much Flames of War.
No. Oh, they play. John plays quite a bit with his son.
Does he?
Yeah, so they do Soviets versus Germans. I think a lot of it.
Right. I know they do a lot about action. That's what I know them for.
Right. Okay.
But anyway, so what else we know?
There's a lot of Team Yankee coming up. So there's the new Nordic Forces book.
Yeah, and we know that for sure. And that's going to be presumably resin. They're doing what's the aircraft called? The iconic one with that's a wing. Is it a Vigan or something?
A Vigan, yes. Sorry, with the wing. Yeah, most of the aircraft have a wing. Yeah, they're doing the Vigan.
Wing,
what you might find, though, is there are other manufacturers' plastic kits of Vigan. So they might actually have found somebody else's plastic kit in 1/44th scale.
Well, I'd rather that than they make a resin one.
To be honest.
Definitely.
But yeah, S-Tank in plastic, so the S-Tank will be great.
Yeah.
Centurion in plastic for the Danes.
A lot of people like it. I mean, I can't think of anything more impractical.
No, I'll be buying some, though, to build.
Right, okay.
Absolutely. I won't field a force, but I just have to have some of those to play with.
Yeah. I mean, again...
What the hell was the S-Tank?
So the S-Tank is... it's a turretless tank, so it's a really low... it only had a two-man crew to start with, so driver and commander.
Everything else?
Yeah, and everything else. The gun is mounted right down the middle of it in a big fixed arrangement. So it's a hole with a big gun out the front and an auto loader on the back.
And by you mean fixed, because even in like a Hetzer, there's a bit of movement in the gun.
A little bit.
Yeah, no, this is bolted down. So the thing has a hydropneumatic suspension. So to make the gun go up and down, you actually make the hull either squat down or go nose up or whatever on hydraulics.
Sweet. Sounds ridiculous.
In the end, they needed a third crewman because two people can't do all the maintenance and do all the stuff for it. So there's actually a driver pointing backwards so that they can drive out of trouble as fast as they could drive into it. In the production tank.
You have that with the Achilles, that's fine.
Yeah.
The Achilles. Some more information for me, so thank you guys. Scott says it's a doorstop, and so that's good. And if IKEA did tanks, sweet.
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah.
I have lost my Allen key. The war is over.
But it's such a distinctive. It's rated in the when people, the World of Tanks send people to the Tank Museum to do the My Top 5 tanks. The S tank is in a lot of people like it. It is a funny looking thing.
It's so dinky though.
Yeah,
I've actually seen one in real life. There's one at the Puckapunyal Museum in Australia. And
at the where?
Puckapunyal.
Yeah, I didn't recognise that word.
That's our Army Tank Training Centre.
Yeah, sounds like it.
I got to visit there a couple of years ago. And yeah, they have an S-Tank that somebody gave them in in a shed somewhere, gathering dust.
Wow.
And
Epic.
it's
Anyways.
dinky.
So yeah, we
Take
know
us out.
it mentioned that they were going to do Nordic nations, specifically pulled
Yep.
out the vegan and
the S-Tank.
Which he particularly talked about. I think he said they were refreshing the infantry because he wasn't happy with the sculpts. Am I right? The finish?
I don't recall. I mean, they haven't had Team Yankee finish before.
Have they not?
No.
I felt he said they were redoing some sculpts or something.
They may well be.
But I might be mixing it up with another company. Another topic, you know, that's kind of it all goes in, it goes out. So there's that. We know what Wave 10 for World of Tanks looks like because they've shown us the pictures. We know he said there's a lot coming for World of Tanks, but we don't know much beyond that. My feeling is they're going to push out the timeline because it's fantasy anyway.
To start pushing it into modern, yeah.
To start pushing it into the, because we know that they are going to do Checkpoint Charlie's side of Team Yankee. And late 40s, early 50s is going to be a thing. He's mentioned Plastic Centurions already.
Plastic M48s have to come.
Plastic M48.
If you're doing Checkpoint Charlie.
Yeah. They do, I'm thinking they do a pattern, but it's the M60 because Americans can only come up with a few different names for tanks.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, the M48 pattern rather than the M60 pattern. Yeah, Centurion. I mean, you can get a Plastic Centurion now for World of Tanks, can you?
No.
No?
Otherwise, I'd have quite a few of them.
You can get a Plastic Challenger now.
Yes.
Which is not the Challenger
same.
Today. It's the 1944 Challenger.
Yeah.
Which is the Cromwell gun tank. Is that right?
Yeah, Cromwell with a 17-pounder gun.
Yeah. French Cromwell, but yeah, that right Challenger. Yeah, okay. So I think when they finish Wave 10, I think they're going to then say, okay, this is what's happening. We know they're doing those platoon boxes, which would be interesting to see what they do with that. Whether the cards in it, you know, whether it's like John mentioned, like it'll be like a BattleTech thing, like this is your army for a new player. Are there going to be new cards in there? Or are they just going to be existing cards? But they were interesting as a way. Like everything, it's going to be price point, I think. You get your vehicles a little bit cheaper. Because a lot of us liked when tanks, the old World of Tanks stuff was a lot cheaper. It was a cheap way of just getting a single tank.
Yeah, I did it for reviews all the time, you know, rather than paying $80 for a platoon box of 5 so I could review one. You could just buy one from the tanks range and do that. So Shaco's is asking about early war.
Yeah.
Yeah, wasn't his thing about we'll do early war one day? So it's not actually on the radar yet.
No, but I think my feeling is he's not being stupid and hanging himself by saying too much.
Yeah.
I think like Pacific, over the next 5 years, I think you're going to see both of those things.
Absolutely.
But in the next 5 years, and one of them might be next year.
Yeah.
But which one? You know, there's loads of stuff in development.
I mean, if they're doing a plastic Panzer,
you know, that's that because they would have done the late war one if he had no intention of putting it for early war.
The plastic Panzer 2 says they're going to do early war sooner rather than later, but not 2023.
Yeah. But again, whether the World of Tanks thing, you see, this is where I think that the World of Tanks thing will give us real insight into what's coming next. And because we've just had Challenger and Comet, and T-54 is coming out in this next Wave 10, my feeling is it's going to go the Checkpoint Charlie route. But it could, of course, have gone the other route. We could get, you know, in the next wave, they might do a Suma and a Matilda too, you know. And those tanks are quite popular in tanks, presumably those early war heavy tanks. You know, that I think you'll see that as being an engine for it.
Yeah, and early war is quite popular. It's not as popular as mid-war or late war, but people who love early war really love early war. Yeah. And it's stuff like, as you say, the Matilda 2, the long-range desert group for the British, Italian horse cavalry.
That TV series.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder if they'll jump on that.
Yeah. Everybody wants a Paddy Mayne figure in 15 mil, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
A diorama punching a military policeman. Yeah. So again, Checkers says, what about a NAM month? Did you say something?
Yeah, they did. So they're going to have a NAM month. So they stopped production on NAM, Fate of a Nation, and Great War during COVID because they just didn't have the spare capacity at the factory to maintain those. Now that has eased up, they're slowly bringing those ranges back in, and they're going to do a NAM month. They haven't said when, but they're going to reintroduce all of that range of stuff, make it all available again, and push it. So sometime during 2023.
And I can tell you, cast iron, because we have the online store we do buy from Battlefront. This in January, the order we put in January was the first time since we've ever ordered from them, because we didn't start until COVID, where every single thing we asked for they've supplied.
Right.
Invariably, you'd have things like the M8 Greyhound model kit. A lot of people like that model. Yeah. We'd get order 10 boxes and we'd wait 6 months, and then we'd get 10, and then we couldn't get any for 6 months.
Yeah.
The British Starter Army, you just couldn't get it for 3 or 4 months. Chieftain kit, you couldn't get it for months. They seem to have got on top of it, because I've never known an entire order arrive. In fact, it's been more like 50%.
Yeah.
In terms of the new stuff's always available. The older stuff, not so much. So they seem to have got back on top of that.
That's not that much of a problem for us here in Australia, because our distributor never actually buys anything anyway. So we never have anything, even if Battlefront do have stock.
Yeah, I feel really sorry for him, because I've heard him, say again on one of his live streams, Pete saying, and we're going to make sure this stuff is available in Australia on release date. And then again, it doesn't help if the distributor didn't buy any, did it? Yeah,
that's right. Or they do, they buy it, but they surface ship rather than airship to get it in. So,
right.
Yeah, I'm expecting some Red Dawn stuff that I ordered from the Australian distributor in a week or two. So, we're 6 weeks behind.
Yeah. Well, you've been
makes it very hard to be a reviewer in Australia. Yeah, I paid $1 billion to get stuff freighted down from Singapore.
And then don't review it all that early anyway.
And then don't review it all that. Well, I had a mother-in-law and COVID and stuff. They're all good excuses.
Yeah.
Although having said that, I've got the British starter force here for the Comet Armoured Squadron thing, and I still haven't reviewed anything out of that yet.
Yeah. You might have ordered the Cromwell before, the Comet before. One of them was a re-release of a kit, wasn't it?
Yeah, so I did the Comet because I had a bunch of Comets under my bed from like 5 years ago.
So Flames of War 3.
Yeah, so that's you can always tell, because whenever I whip something out and review it and it's in grey plastic, it's a re-release that I've had from Flames of War 3 that I can just whip out and go, look, it's going to look like this.
Yay!
Nobody can ever tell.
Paradon. All right. Harry should just become the Australian distributor, then you can have all the stock. Yeah, it's dangerous, I can tell you, but it is nice being a seller, because you get the pleasure of opening all the big boxes, seeing all the beautiful things. And I'm always like asking Anne, so the order arrives. None of it's for me. It's all for the shop. I still love to see it.
No, unfortunately, being in Western Australia,
no one to sell it to.
There's no one to sell it to. Yeah. No, Australia's pretty big.
Yeah. All right then. Hobby-wise, I didn't say I have been slowly painting the boots on these 15mm British infantry for the next Flames of War game with the Mr. J. Bizzle.
We did have a spirited discussion about what colour those boots should be, didn't we?
Yeah, we couldn't decide.
Before, I
went for black because there's a high contrast to the base.
Yeah.
I don't want to ask the chat because I'll get both answers, black and brown. I know this. That's why I didn't want to Google it either. You get both answers. It's the beauty of the internet. We played the Mighty Aeroplane game, didn't we, John?
The Windy Plane game, yeah.
That looked like fun.
Blood Red Skies. Yeah, it was a lot. I was daunted by it going up to it. The guys just sent me a link to the sort of the tutorials that some of the guys did on one of the channels, and it did make it a little bit more digestible. And actually getting, on the table with it's a lot easier than I thought it would ever be. So yeah, I'm looking forward to actually getting around to film that. We've really struggled to be able to get a slot to film that. But...
I've been ill, my son's been ill, John's been ill, or he's been arrested for getting his penis out in the field again. All those kind of usual issues. Yeah. So that's. I'm sure you're going to like that subs in the for the campaign, the Command Arms campaign. We have got an air battle, which we have.
Spoiler,
probably. Oh yeah, because I've not seen the campaign bit yet that says we're going to have an air battle. And the lovely painted models that John did. Did you get any hobbying done, John?
I did. Yeah, I'm playing with the old school Wood Elf Blood Bowl. Where are you? There you are. There you go. There's some there.
Show us again, John. Sorry, we didn't see Wood Elf.
Sorry, dude.
And just make you all big.
What
Blood
Bowl.
Yeah.
90s metal ones that I swapped them with Clueless Mike for some plastics.
Right, he wanted the sweet new ones.
And these for when we play.
Look at that.
For when we play something.
That's lovely.
What's it? The game of 5 models and a deck of cards.
That thing. Fistful of
I got a box today as well.
Yeah, show us your box.
Because John loves a little game. So have you ever heard of Firelock Games? Speaking of the Windy Boat game, they do their version, which is Oak and Iron. I got in touch with them and said, I'd love to give Oak and Iron a try. Can you send us a review copy? They're like, yeah, mate, we'll send you one. It's the core box. So we're going to get on to reviewing this. You get lovely plastic boats in there and so forth. But they also got a Kickstarter going, and he sent me one of them. And I'm just going to take me a minute to get this out.
Don't strain yourself.
Kickstarter.
Oh, there's grunting. It's like OnlyFans, but with plastic.
This is a big box, man.
What?
This is the new Blood and Plunder, which is their 28mm skirmish game, which they've got. It's just gone from Kickstarter, so you can pre-order it now from like Whaling Games or whatever through our affiliate link, by the way. It's about £100 starter set, so it's got 20. It's the iconic, Blackbeard and Captain Dude Bro, where his final fight. But you get.
How is that a skirmish game if it's in a box that bleeding big?
Because you fight on land and sea or boarding actions or whatever.
Hang on, 28mm ships that big. That's really
plastic,
cool. Yeah.
Okay, plastic. That's cool.
These ships are foot long and higher still. In 28mm hard plastic. None of this like needing special tools. So yeah, that's in our future. Obviously, we're going to review it quite soon for you to see. When we'll get around here and paint it all, it's a different matter. But the great thing I like about this is not Napoleonic tall ships. This is the 100 years. This is more sort of 16 to 1700. So there's much more variety of ships. You still got galleons and things, but you've also got coming in the ship types that you'd recognize, like, ships of the line, third rates and so forth. You just got much more variety, especially at the smaller end.
Yeah.
Or I can maybe do some of the Great Lakes wars and stuff. There's a much wider range of plastic ships. They all look a bit more like toys than the Black Seas ones. But they still look nice. I think we'll see. What a sub say. Wow, impressive. Yeah, so if you bump into anybody from Firelock Games, just say like, guys at MfA, love you. That was really generous of you to say. Because they're from the States. That probably cost as much to ship that as the box cost.
Yeah.
It's huge in ways a ton. But we will get to that.
We best do it. Then.
Let's do it. Next live stream is in 2 weeks' time, which some of you won't be joining us because your wives will insist you spend time with them. It will be Valentine's Day. I'll still be here because Mrs. K would rather go to bed than talk to me by 9 o'clock at night. We've got Discourse booked in for that. And on the 28th of February, it's Seth Paradon, who is the deputy director of the military museum at Camp Shelby in America.
Ooh,
he's
nice.
a Pacific guy. I'm hoping he's going to do us a Guadalcanal in a nutshell, but it might be tough for an hour. I'm going to see what he's prepared to do, but he has a podcast of his own, which he'll advertise. And my top tip for listening this week, I would say, if you like history in all of its forms, podcast, which is now shown on you they're now translated to YouTube. The Rest is History is two historians. They're fun chaps, and they just talk about history in its fullest sense, all kinds of stuff. There's a great episode I listened to about beefsteak clubs in Britain, where men of stature and Englishness would have beef and liberty stamped on their waistcoat buttons. And these seem like two great attributes to aspire to. You about beef and liberty, Harry?
Oh, yeah. Always love me a bit of free beef.
All right. I've just reminded guys at home where they can find you, Harry, before we sign off.
Okay, yeah. I do product reviews on YouTube for Flames of War and Team Yankee and those sorts of things when I get around to it. Those two things you can see behind me are things still waiting in the review queue. The Chinese starter set for Team Yankee, which is great fun. And the Comet Armoured Squadron for the British that I haven't got around to yet. So those will be coming, plus more. Watch this space. And now I've got a new studio. So, yeah.
Yeah, sweet new
That's
studio.
me. It is
All
a
right,
nice new
guys.
studio, isn't it?
Thanks for joining us.
Oh, thanks for asking me. Always love to come along.
Good night, everyone. Bye-bye.
Good night. Bye.